All right, AC3 guys, sorry it took me a little longer than I planned to post this video up. I had some other things going on today, but either way, this is important because, as you can see by the notes I gave you, we are starting the chapter on O.J. Simpson. And the more I thought about this, because this part is very important, it's in the test, I'm actually going to post some notes of this up tomorrow too for you to reference. But in order to understand the O.J. case, and I know a lot of you know a lot about it. Over the last couple of years, there were some TV shows. ESPN did a phenomenal documentary on it. If you guys have ESPN Plus, the entire 5-part documentary is on there. And I still think Netflix has the People versus O.J. Simpson on there too. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they do. In order to truly understand the ins and outs of the O.J. Simpson case, not the murder in and of itself, that's, we'll get to that. But one of the things people just don't seem to quite understand is, how was this man found not guilty? And one of the things we really need to look at and need to understand is the atmosphere of Los Angeles in 1994 when that happened. So what I want you guys to understand and take a look at is what LA was like back then. There was not a very good relationship between the police and the African American community for the previous 30 years up until the O.J. Simpson trial. And one of the things I do on the test is I go over some hot button issues that kind of sparked an even more growing distrust between the police and the African American community. And it all started in 1968. There was like a mini riot in Los Angeles, and over any number of things. But what would happen is, in some cases, the police would look for drugs in certain homes and apartments that they had a lead that there may be drugs or whatever there. And in one of the cases, and like I said, when we're in class, there's a video that I show you on this. If I can find it as a small clip on YouTube, I'm going to link it up so you can see that too. They completely destroyed someone's house looking for drugs. And I think they found like a couple grams of marijuana, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been cocaine, but I think it was marijuana. I'll look and reference that for you so you guys can know. But they completely destroyed this person's house for it. And by destroyed, I don't mean like they dumped out the drawers. They destroyed the toilet. They cut up the bed. They did all sorts of things. And whenever the drugs were found, the people were arrested, and the police did not help reimburse them in any way. And when I say destroyed, their apartment was completely destroyed. All right. So that was one example. But the main thing that happened in 1991. There was a man named Rodney King. Now, let me start off by saying Rodney King was no saint. He was involved with the police a lot, was arrested multiple times for a number of things. Well, anyway, one night in 1991, the police pulled him over. Can't remember if it was a high-speed chase or not. Pretty sure it was, though. But either way, he was pulled over in a neighborhood, and the police got him out of the car, and they beat him horribly with nightsticks. They kicked him. They did all these sorts of things. What the police didn't realize, though, was a person living across the street was videotaping it, and the entire thing was filmed. And I mean, they beat this man senseless. He didn't die, but he was beaten very, very severely. And the police, the officers, ended up being charged, and they were sentenced to go to court. Now, I'm going to get to their verdict here in a second, because something happened a few days after Rodney King was arrested and beaten. There was a 15-year-old girl named Latasha Harlins. And Latasha Harlins went into a convenience store. And she, an African-American girl. And in the convenience store, she had a bottle of orange juice. And some people say she was trying to steal the bottle of orange juice. Some people say no, she was trying to pay for it. No one really knows as far as what actually happened. But there's a surveillance camera. And in the surveillance camera, Latasha Harlins gets into a scuffle with the clerk, okay, who is a middle-aged woman, middle-aged Asian lady. What was her name? Here, I have it up here, so you guys can get her name. Her name was Soonja Do. She was a Korean. She was from South Korea. She immigrated here from South Korea. But either way, they are in the middle of a tussle for the orange juice. In the video, you see Latasha Harlins throw the bottle down, and she goes to walk away. And in the video, she is walking away from the clerk. And the clerk pulls out a gun, shoots her in the back of her head, and kills her. She dies immediately. And the video, if you YouTube or Google Latasha Harlins, Harlins, it's there for everyone to see. Once again, she very well could have been trying to steal the orange juice. She very well could have been trying to pay for it. We don't know that. But the one thing that the video does show is she was leaving. She was walking away. She was leaving the store. Clerk pulls out a gun, shoots her in the back of the head, and kills her. The clerk ends up going on trial, and she is found guilty of involuntary manslaughter or voluntary manslaughter. But her sentence is 5 years probation and 400 hours community service. Now, there is a video of this woman shooting this girl in the back of the head. 5 years probation, 400 hours community service was her sentence. The African American community was up in arms over this. This now takes us to the court case of the police officers against Rodney King. The video shows that they were beating him. Now, once again, I'm not getting into was he trying to resist this, that, or whatever. That's up for you to decide, or obviously the courts decided. But in the video, you can see that he is on the ground and he isn't putting up a fight. All of the cops are found not guilty, except for one cop on one certain charge. So you had, I believe, 5 police officers found not guilty. Now, what did these things have in common? Latasha Harlins, it's on video. She was shot in the back of the head. Rodney King, it's on video. He was being beaten. And essentially everyone was found not guilty. The police officers were found not guilty. The clerk, she was sentenced to community service and probation. So for killing somebody, that's, I don't want to say not guilty because she was found guilty, but the sentence was very lenient, let's just say. And what this did is this boils over to the day that the cops were found not guilty, the African American community began to riot in Los Angeles. And it ended up being a 3-day riot, which was very violent. People were killed. Bystanders were killed. Millions and millions of dollars worth of damage in the city of Los Angeles happened. And the idea was this growing distrust and this idea with the African American community in Los Angeles that the police don't have their back, that the police are out to get them. And it finally boils over into a massive, massive riot in Los Angeles. What does this have to do with O.J. Simpson? Directly, nothing. All right, O.J. Simpson was married to Nicole Brown. She gets murdered. Another guy gets murdered in the process, which we're going to talk about this week. But directly, the race riots and all that stuff doesn't have anything to do with OJ. But indirectly, especially when we get to the court case and the verdict, you're going to see that it does. And that's why it is very, very important that we start the OJ chapter with a look at what was going on in Los Angeles between the African American community and the police at the time. And like I said, if we were in class, I'd have a number of videos to show you. And I'm even going to look for small YouTube clips, and I'm going to post them on here if I can find them for you. I'm also going to do a slide or 2 PowerPoint notes for this tomorrow as well, just so you can cross-reference it, because I know I rambled on here for about 10, 12 minutes. So just want to make sure you can check the notes for it as well. But once again, this ends up being a very, very important reference point as to what ends up happening with the O.J. Simpson case. Okay, so that's why there's going to be some questions on the test about it, and why it's very, very important that you guys know about the background before we get into OJ, the person, and the murder and the court case. Okay. Once again, sorry it took me a little while to post this tonight. Obviously, it's always going to be up so you can reference it at any time. As of right now, I'm thinking the OJ test is going to be Friday. However, there is a chance that that may be pushed back to Monday, just based on time and those sorts of things. And if that is the case, it's no big deal. I checked. We still have enough time to where I can get through all the chapters and all that good stuff with you guys. All right. Have a good night. See you guys tomorrow.